Hello and welcome to episode 148 of Glitch Report. My name is GnittWitt. Thank you so much for stopping by, saying hi, kicking it with me today on the stream of dreams, the show of shows, and everything in between. You can find everything that I do over at my Linktree. That is linktree.com/GnittWitt. GnittWitt. I am all over the place on Threads and YouTube, but those are probably two of the best places that you can find me. But I have spread myself all over the internet. If you are so inclined, man, oh man, I have had time to like properly think and dissect and take in so much of what was shown at Summer Game Fest last week. And when I started like taking all this stuff in, I was like, oh, this is great. Like I'll be able to like come on the podcast today and kind of maybe give my final thoughts on Summer Game Fest. But instead, what has happened is there has been so much news left, right, and center that when I was putting together this show, like the last thing that I was kind of thinking of was, a follow-up to Summer Game Fest in terms of like, oh, if I were to like gun to my head, top 5 favorite games, top 10 favorite games or something like that. Like there has been so much news to cover. And I've been, my gaming habits, coming out of last week were, there's so much news to talk about, and I'll get to that in a moment, but like my gaming habits were like, oh, I want to play a lot of games that are part of the demos that are happening during Steam Next Fest and as part of Summer Game Fest and all of this stuff. And then almost none of that happened. Like it sounds crazy, but like I still have so many games downloaded that I have not even had a chance to properly play and dissect if I'm being honest. Like I played a little bit of Karen. I played a little bit of Baby Steps. I played Ball Pit, but there's not like, I didn't get a chance to play so many of the other games that I meant to play, like Axe of Blood and stuff like that. Tron Catalyst, Ninja Guy, and Ragebound. Like so many things that I meant to play that I have not had the proper chance to play for one reason or another. That doesn't mean that I haven't been playing games. I've been playing games, and we're going to talk about those later on in the show. But man, oh man, it's just been a crazy week, especially in terms of news. So if I'm being honest with you right now, a little behind the scenes peek at what's going on here on the show this week. That top 5 like Summer Game Fest list, I don't have it. I straight up do not have it because this is the same week that Bungie had a bunch of news and Xbox had a bunch of news and reviews for like Mindseye and FBC Firebreak came out and Nintendo had news and Stellar Blade made headlines and Sony had so much news that we're going to cover that I didn't come up with that list. So I'm thinking that maybe during the break, I might cobble together a list. But I would like to present to you a good solid list of like what my honest feelings are on the state of games shown at Summer Game Fest and stuff like that. So, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But first, we have to cross the bridge of some reviews for recently released video games. Last week, Mindseye came out. That is from the developers at Build a Rocket Boy, former developers of Grand Theft Auto. It is being published by your friends and mine at IO Interactive. IO Interactive, of course, the Hitman people. They're also developing the new James Bond 007 First Light game. And this is IO taking a crack at, publishing a third-party game, not made, not developed by them, but published and seen to release by IO Interactive. Mindseye, if you are not familiar, is a story-based third-person shooter and action adventure game set in the far-flung future of whenever And from like a vibe standpoint, it's like a mix of like a Grand Theft Auto and a Cyberpunk in terms of like, oh, you're doing third person shooting, you do a little bit of driving despite it not being an open world game, and there's a thing in this guy's head, Johnny Mnemonic style, and all of that stuff. Now, I'm going to say first and foremost, I have not played this video game. And it might become quite clear in just a moment why I have not played the video game. But game journalists and reviewers, they were not sent early copies of this game to play. They did not receive this game in advance in order to have reviews ready for launch or whenever the embargo was. So one of the reasons why we're talking about these reviews now is because when this game came out last week, the reviews were not available. Instead, what had happened was there were, streamers and influencers and content creators that were going to do sponsored streams. If you're not too familiar, once you make it up there in the world of content creation and streaming and stuff like that, you could potentially run a Twitch live stream that is actually just one giant ad for a particular video game. You might not like be out there expressing how you feel about the game, or you might be able to, you might not. You might just be saying, hey, we're going to play this game and they've sponsored the stream today and I just want to show this game off to everybody. You tell me what you think, or whatever the case may be. So what happened was that there were content creators and influencers that were getting the game, day of to do sponsored streams for the game. And as we're going to find out in a moment, the game was so awful and so broken and so busted that a lot of people were getting their sponsored streams canceled just before they were meant to go live. Okay, you're going to go live at 8 a.m., Pacific Standard Time, whatever time. You're going to play the game. We're going to pay you, give you a copy of the game, whatever. As part of this, like, people were getting emails saying the sponsored stream was canceled because of how bad the launch of the game was going. There were other people who had been doing their streams who could not contain their disappointment and laughter for how pathetically bad a Mindseye is. So, if you will just humor me for a moment, I would like to go through right now and actually cover some of the reviews for this video game. Eurogamer is giving Mindseye a 1 out of 5, saying, although it shows some early premise, Mindseye is sunk by a ridiculous story, inconsistent writing, poorly designed mission scenarios, and utterly atrocious combat. GameSpot 3 out of 10, saying Mindseye is a stringent and relentlessly dull video game, wasting its impressive world on formulaic mission designs that's both archaic and uninspired. Like, I'm not out here trying to pick on anything. I'm just, calling it as I see it. These are the reviews as they've been written. IGN 4 out of 10, saying when its performance is stable and you're explosively blasting your way through robots, Mindseye can masquerade as a serviceable action shooter for a few minutes at a time. Its near future setting and driving feel also impress. Games Radar Plus 2 out of 5, saying even as an 8 to 10 hour campaign, Mindseye feels longer than it needs to be. Digital Trends 1.5, saying Mindseye is a baffling, busted shooter that squanders a campy sci-fi premise. Push Square 3 out of 10, Mindseye is a broken, boring mess of a game that has somehow been allowed out in the world. It has little glimmers of something semi-entertaining in there with its cutscenes and its story, but it's bogged down by a vapid, large-scale map that is at odds with its aggressively linear campaign. And padded out with dull, repetitive gameplay loop that is nothing short of archaic. But I think you get the point. If we go over to Steam, and I'm going to type in Mindseye into Steam. Mindseye is sitting at a mostly negative user review score, with 38% of the 1,763 user reviews for this game being positive. This game is $78 on Steam. You can also get the deluxe edition of the game for $104. And I don't know what else. Like, again, they're not going to send me a copy of this game. I'm not here to like say I'm too small potatoes or whatever. It is what it is. But they're not going to send me a copy of this game. They're probably not going to send anyone a copy of this game at this point. And I don't know if this is the type of failure of a video game that kills a debut for a developer. I don't know. You know, it's funny, like when they first started talking about Build a Rocket Boy, I know these people are splitting off of Rockstar to do this and do that. You know, there was excitement, there was potential, right? And now we see where this potential got them. And it is a laughably bad game that wouldn't be compared to even the worst Grand Theft Auto games. For what it's worth, you know, on the 11th, the day after the game came out, on the 11th, they said, they put out an issue saying, "Dear community, a heartfelt thank you to all our day one players. We know the launch of Mindseye hasn't been without its challenges for some of you. Right now, our top priority is game performance. We understand that the requirements are high." Keep in mind that this is a post that they sent to Steam users. So when they talk about performance, keep in mind that the game's performance, from everything I understand, is bad on consoles. It's not like this game requires a incredibly high PC and runs good on consoles. It is fucked across the board. But this message that they're writing is for Steam users. "We understand the requirements are high and have limited experience for many of you, and have limited the experience for many of you, and for this, we sincerely apologize. Improving performance across all devices is our immediate focus. A patch that begins our commitment to address this is scheduled for the end of this week on PC. We will also roll it out on consoles as soon as possible." Let me see if I can pull up for just a moment here. So, okay. So this is what I wanted to cover here. So this story came out on the game came out on the 10th. That message to players came out on the 11th. By the 12th, Mindseye Studio, the article that I'm pulling from Video Games Chronicles, Andy Robinson, shout out to Video Games Chronicles, says, Mindseye Studio is heartbroken over the buggy launch. PlayStation has begun issuing refunds for the game. They said, Mindseye Studio builder Rocket Boy says it's heartbroken over the buggy experience many players have suffered, as PlayStation appears to be issuing refunds to some who are dissatisfied with the game. Remember that PlayStation is pretty strict about refund policies. You know, you paid for the game, you bought the game, you played the game. In some cases, you can't even launch the game in order to get a refund. Like, a lot of it is based on an exception by exception basis, right? It's all about, you know, them being like, okay, you get one refund and we're going to mark it on your account and all this stuff. But, you know, the studio's been scrambling to fix bugs this week after the internet filled the internet with videos of its single player action game breaking and distorting in unexpected ways. Build a Rocket Boy and its publisher IO did not supply pre-release codes to Mindseye, but at the time of publishing it, Steam users were around 60% negative. That hasn't really changed that much since this article came out. Most of the criticisms from players have been leveled at the game's performance, stability, and AI behavior. On Wednesday, there was evidence that multiple players had been refunded by PlayStation, a rare occurrence that conjures memories of Cyberpunk 2077's troubled launch, which was eventually pulled from sale entirely. On Thursday, Build a Rocket Boy published a new statement claiming that it had discovered the source of most players' issues and that a fix would be deployed as soon as Friday. Writing, "We are heartbroken that not every player was able to experience the game as we intended. Our priority is optimizing performance and stability so that every player across every device can enjoy an equally high quality experience. Our teams have worked tirelessly throughout the night to solve many of these issues, and we have now identified that a vast majority of the crashes were caused by a memory leak. This impacted roughly 1 in 10 of our players. The studio says it's developed a fix that addresses this issue alongside others, while it's working to deploy it as soon as tomorrow on PC and consoles. Once it passes certification with PlayStation Xbox, it'll also be there as well." They wrote, We are fully committed to ensuring all of our players have a great experience, and we will continue to provide frequent and transparent updates. We will do so to best respond to all your comments and feedback. Fast forward to the 18th. Today, Mindseye's second hotfix is now live as developer races to fix its disastrous launch. This is from Jordan Midler at Video Games Chronicles. As always, shout out to Video Games Chronicles. They have put out a patch for the game. Performance improvements for CPU, GPU, and memory. Fix an issue with AI vehicle spawning. Fix an issue with AI vehicle collision. Fixes to some issues that cause the game to crash. Corrected visuals for some male character models. Deformations when being hit by vehicles. That was one of the big things, is when you hit a male character in the game, he would turn all spaghetti-like and all fucked up and weird, among other things. Here's the thing. You heard the reviews that I just, read. You heard the reviews. A lot of those reviews mentioned broken, muddy, fucked up video game, right? But they also mentioned a boring, bland, and poorly designed game. And this is where the comparisons for Cyberpunk 2077 and Mindseye need to stop and start, because at the core of what Cyberpunk was a decent game. Was a decent game that they were able to really focus on, highlighting those positives while fixing the stuff that surrounded that game. Mindseye doesn't have that. Like, at best, Mindseye is like, and I feel like maybe, and I don't want to read too much into these reviews, but I feel like you're giving Mindseye a 4 out of 5 at best, even when it works. So, to me, like, this game will forever be a disappointment, because they will never remake the game and, patch the game and update the game enough to fix the part where it is boring and bland and it stinks. Yes, broken, bad, busted video games should not be the case in this day and age, right? You can, put the game out on store shelves, and, you can spend the next couple of weeks getting it ready before it even hits store shelves. You think about, like, oh, the game has gone gold, in the sense that this is the version of the game that we're going to release to the public. And then we're going to spend the next few weeks before the game's released to the public making sure we have a really good day one patch, whatever the case is. You cannot patch your way out of Mindseye being bad, right? This is a laughably bad game at best. And I don't know if this is going to kill, Build a Rocket Boy going forward. They had other ambitions and ideas. Like, one of the things that they have in the PC version is you can build, like, content. Like, you can build levels and missions and stuff like that in the game for other people to play. If you have the PC version of Mindseye, you can, like, make additional content for that game that players can release for free, or players can play for free. Who is going to do that? Who is going to use potentially broken tools? Like, I don't know what the tools are like to make content in Mindseye, but who is going to put, additional time and effort into making content for a game that isn't very good to begin with? That's really all I have to say about Mindseye at the moment. I don't know what this is going to mean for IO's publishing going forward, if they never publish another game that isn't made by them. If Build a Rocket Boy ever makes another game, it is really, really hard to say. But as of right now, Mindseye, a disastrous launch in the year of our Lord 2025. Let's move on to FBC Firebreak, and we're going to get through this and then we'll do our break. FBC Firebreak is the new game from your friends and mine over at Remedy. Before I get too ahead of myself, for those curious, 33 is the average score for Mindseye, and on OpenCritic.com, 33 is the average score that it is getting. There are no critics that currently recommend the game. That's just what it says. No critics currently recommend the game. So if you now you've been made aware that Mindseye is a disaster. Okay, FBC Firebreak reviews. It is out now as of yesterday. the 17th. It is available on PlayStation Plus, I think on the middle tier and the high end tier. It is available on Game Pass, PC Game Pass, and stuff like that. I know Game Pass has their weird tiers. I couldn't tell you what the actual tiers are. But what I can tell you is that FBC Firebreak has not scored the reviews I was hoping for. Based on just the reviews I'm about to read, I'm incredibly disappointed. Am I surprised? Not really, and I'll explain why in a moment. But based on what I'm seeing for FBC Firebreak, I'm pretty disappointed in the review scores. These are significantly lower than Remedy's past games in their review scores, but regardless, let's run through it. Currently, FBC Firebreak is sitting at a 66% average rating, with 34% of critics recommending the game. That is out of 34 critical review scores that we can read right now. Game Rant, 6 out of 10, saying FBC Firebreak is a big swing for Remedy Entertainment. That's definitely worthy of a few cheers. PC Gamer, 60 out of 100, saying FBC Firebreak's madcap missions conceits are delightfully silly, but balancing issues and limited replay value hinder the fun. The Gamer did not give a score, but they said Firebreak is neat, but it will only take a night or two to see everything it has to offer. There's not quite enough here to justify the cost, especially when my other games have time limited events, and I just so hate to miss out. So you think about playing FBC Firebreak. If you decide FBC Firebreak is going to be your multiplayer game of choice, you're going to miss out on, Star Wars in Fortnite or whatever Destiny has going on, whatever Call of Duty has going on. You're going to miss out on those time limited events to do this. And then you're going to play through it and be like, oh, it's done. There's not much to see. It's pretty short in the grand scheme of things. There's not a lot of replay value. And whoops, I just missed out on all the stuff that I could have been playing in something like Fortnite. Games Radar Plus, a 2 out of 5, saying being forced to stand stock still and stare at the horrible traffic light, longing it to turn green, is wonderfully tense. This is, the next game from Remedy taking place in the Control universe. You are fighting the Hiss from Control. You are experiencing weird, paranormal, fucked up stuff as you have come to expect from the good folks at Remedy, but all contextualized in something like a multiplayer game that you can play solo or with other people. Tech Raptor, 4.5 out of 10, saying FBC Firebreak is an apparent attempt by the studio to try something new and misses the mark. In a world where games like Left 4 Dead exist, it's hard to justify a reason to play this game. The gameplay loop is less than ideal, and the same can be said about the gunplay, which is a core feature. Many major story beats can easily be missed, and that's a shame. So, at the time, I was thinking to myself, like, oh, I'm going to definitely check out FBC Firebreak. I love Remedy. I love Control. I'm very game for whatever they have to offer. It's coming out on Game Pass. I really don't have much of an excuse. And then I saw the reviews, and I was like, why? Like, forget, like, me playing Fortnite. Forget, like, whatever else I have going on. Let's say I had, the world was my oyster, and I could just pick any game and play it. Why would I pick this, even if I liked Remedy? And I don't think there's much of an answer at this point in time, to be honest. I really don't have much of an answer for why I would pick this over anything else. I have it installed. I haven't deleted it. I might check it out next week, but as of right now, what a potential waste of time. And I know that sounds harsh, but that's kind of how I'm feeling, if I'm being honest. So I'll tell you what, we'll take a break, and when we come back, we got more news. Stick around. Welcome back to the podcast. Before we finish up our talks about FBC Firebreak, Remedy has shared plans for the free content for the game. The good news is that all playable post-release content, missions, and stuff like that will be free. However, Remedy will sell cosmetic items for the game, costumes and skins and whatnot, for the game, if you are so inclined. So there will be 2 major pieces of free content for the game this year. Two new jobs, codenamed Outbreak and codenamed Blackout, will be released in the fall and winter. All playable post-launch content for the game will be free, but you can buy cosmetics if you'd like. Remedy has plans for 2026 content for the game, according to Remedy's communications director, Thomas Pua, saying, we want to launch the game first, see what the reception is and what the community wants to see, what you might gravitate to before we make more decisions on what kind of content we'll be releasing for free in 2026. Ultimately, Firebreak, so this was a hands-on preview that Video Games Chronicle had, where they said, ultimately, Firebreak will live or die on whether or not players are willing to give it a try, a gamble that many other games in the genre have faced in the past and continue to face. Thankfully, the game will be released on both PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass, which I think is Firebreak's best shot at really sticking in a market that's difficult to break into. So critical reception has not been amazing for this game. I'm not going to say it's fucking Mindseye bad, but it's not great. Luckily, you can pay for the low price of free to get into the game, assuming you have the proper tiers of PlayStation Plus and Game Pass. But even as someone who does have the proper tier of Game Pass to play this game, reading the critical reception does not leave me wanting to play this game. I mean, the problem is that time is money and money is time, and I'm already spending time playing so many other things that I could play infinitely, like Fortnite, or play through the completion, like, I'm currently replaying Mass Effect 2, and I'm currently playing Outer Worlds, trying to finish that before the second game comes out. Like, why would I spend my time on FBC Firebreak even if it's free? I'm not too sure, and I don't know if it's a scenario where they can improve the core structure of that game in order to make it more appealing to those who want to play it, regardless of how much content is available. This was going to be the biggest news story, but then I figured I would just, kind of cushion Mindseye with FBC Firebreak and the reviews and all of that stuff. But Bungie has officially delayed Marathon. This is from Andy Robinson, Video Games Chronicles. Marathon statement says, quote, your voice has been strong and clear. Bungie has officially delayed the shooter, claiming it needs more time to refine and test the game. In a statement, the Destiny studio said, quote, it needs more time to craft Marathon into the game that truly reflects your passion, and that it will use the additional development time to empower the team to create the intense, high-stakes experience that a title like Marathon is built around. Now, this delay follows mixed feedback from players during the recent alpha tests and a significant controversy around stolen artwork that was found in those test builds. Marathon was set to release on September 23rd for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC. Bungie had confirmed that the game would be a premium product, though the studio had yet to confirm a price. They said, through every comment and real-time conversation on social media and Discord, your voice has been clear and strong. We've taken this to heart, and we know we need more time to craft Marathon into the game that truly reflects your passion. After such After much discussion with our dev team, we've made the decision to delay the September 23rd release. The alpha test created an opportunity for us to collaborate and focus the game on what will make it uniquely compelling: survival under pressure, mystery and lore around every corner, raid-like endgame challenges, and Bungie's genre-defining first-person shooter combat. We're using this time to empower the team to create the intense, high-stake experience that a title like Marathon is built around. This means deepening the relationship between the developers and the game's most important voices, our players. Over the next few months, we'll continue closed testing, including participants from the alpha, to deploy gameplay updates and test new features as they come online. Bungie's statement goes on to highlight the areas of Marathon that it will be focusing on include improving the survival gameplay, adding better AI, more rewarding runs, and more strategic combat. It also plans to double down on the Marathon universe with improved visuals, more narrative storytelling, and a darker tone, and it will add more social experiences to the game, including a better experience for solo players and duos, and proximity voice chat. They said, you'll hear from us again later this fall when we can share the progress we've made alongside the game's new release date. Thank you again for your patience and, much more importantly, your passion. Your continued feedback will help us make Marathon the incredible gaming experience we all know it can be. I said this on Threads, and I'm going to say it here now. So there's a couple. So let me just kind of say what I said, which was, if Marathon ever does come out, I still think it will end up being a profound disappointment and ultimately a failure. And the reason why I say that is because they are talking about the players that are passionate for the game, right? They're talking about, oh, people giving us the feedback and the people playing the game and the people testing it and the people talking to us. Like, we really want to hear those voices. Okay. What about all of the people who haven't had a chance to play the game? You have a incredibly closed testing phase for a small group of people to check out the game, right? What about the other people who haven't had a chance to play the game, who might be interested in the game, who might be curious about this game, who might be wondering if this game is as disastrous as it sounds? There are so many people who haven't had a chance to play the game. And I'm not saying that those people have valid criticism or comments or any meaningful points to make, right? Who am I? I haven't played the game, but you have to eventually sell other people on the game. You can't just sell the game to the people who are already interested enough to play an unfinished build of the game to help you make the game as best as it can be, right? At some point, you have to try to sell this game to me. You have to sell this game to, I don't know, my neighbor. You have to sell this game to other people who are maybe not familiar with Bungie, may not be familiar with the original Marathon franchise, and you might have to sell this game to people who are not, familiar with what this new Marathon game is trying to be in terms of being an extraction, shooter, a run-based survival multiplayer shooter. You have to sell this game to other people eventually. And the problem with doing so is that the most popular games in this genre are still relatively niche in the grand scheme of things, right? You think about a game like Hunt Showdown. Hunt Showdown is still a relatively niche game, all things considered. Like, no one is sitting here saying that, like, it's not a big successful game, but also no one is around here saying that, like, Hunt Showdown is one of the biggest games ever. Hunt Showdown is not on the size of a Destiny. There are probably more people playing Destiny than there are people playing Hunt Showdown. Now, it helps that Destiny is a free-to-play shooter. It also helps that a game like Arc Raiders, when it does come out, Arc Raiders will also be slapping my microphone because I'm so excited. Arc Raiders is going to be a free-to-play shooter. So why would I even give, Arc Raiders is out end of October 30th, right? It's going to be free-to-play. Why the hell would I ever give Marathon a chance when I could go play other popular extraction shooters like Hunt Showdown, which I don't think is a very good game, or Arc Raiders, which will at least be a free-to-play game when it comes out? Like, you have to sell this game to other people, and that is the part that I don't think anyone is openly addressing when it comes to Marathon development teams, Sony leadership. Like, okay, when they talk about a failure like Concord, they talk about, our passionate community and all this stuff. You had no community. No one showed up for the game. No one showed up to play Concord. No one cared. They didn't even care when they had 2 weekends to play it during the open beta period. They could play it for free. No one cared about Concord, right? Why would they care about Marathon? They haven't addressed that yet. And if you're not addressing that right now, through your additional development time that you're getting, you better figure out how to transition Marathon into something that people want to play, or don't put it out. Right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, Marathon has to be a free-to-play game or whatever, because free-to-play games come and go all the time. Like, so many people could not give a shit about so many free-to-play games that come out at any given time, right? I'm not even saying that Arc Raiders is going to be some hugely successful game. But when I look at what Arc Raiders is offering, and when I look at what Marathon was offering, even if they were both paid games, I would be like, I guess if I had to choose, I'd rather play Arc Raiders, right? Or I would maybe rather give, Hunt Showdown another chance. It's already out on like Game Pass and PlayStation Plus or whatever, or it's $20 or whatever. They have not addressed like selling, like Bungie cannot put out a niche product. They can't. I don't care what anyone says about like, oh, give, extraction shooters a chance, or, oh, give Bungie a chance, give Sony a chance to really market this game, push this game. Right? You were using water guns to put out a house fire. It's not going to work. I don't think it's going to work anyways. So if this is not like a big game that keeps Bungie going for a while, this game is not worth putting out. Straight up, because Destiny is in some form of maintenance mode. They're putting out expansions and updates, and they're doing that stuff, but Destiny 2 is not bringing in a lot of new players necessarily. It might bring in old players who have dropped the game. Like, they might be able to attract people like myself to give it another chance and buy another expansion or get a battle pass or do whatever and get back into the game. But they're not selling new people on the idea of playing Destiny 2. And as of right now, they're not doing a very good job of finding a reason to sell anybody who isn't already a fan of extraction shooters or deep into the Bungie fandom or whatever the hell. They're not doing a good job in selling people on Marathon. Now, in fairness, they might not need to sell people on Marathon right now because the game's probably nowhere close to being out. But I just think of the odds that are stacked against them. And that's why I say, if this game ever does come out, I still think it'll end up being a profound disappointment and ultimately a failure. The odds are so stacked against them that I don't know what else to say. Let's move on, shall we? Xbox is slowly getting ready to start talking about their next generation of consoles. We had this feeling that Xbox was going to be maybe first one out the door in terms of having a next generation console ready before somebody like Sony. We don't have a confirmed release date. We don't have a confirmed much of anything right now. But we do know that Xbox has announced its next generation deals with chip manufacturers, processor manufacturer. AMD is going to be working with Xbox on future devices. Xbox has also announced that the game console will not be tied to a single store. You think right now, you fire up your PlayStation. If you want to buy a game on your PlayStation, you're only buying games from Sony directly. That's it. You can't go buy a Sony game off of Steam, right? You can't go buy a Sony game, or not a Sony game in like PlayStation. You can't go buy a PlayStation game from Steam. You can't go buy a PlayStation game from Xbox. And I know that this is maybe a hyperbolic comparison because those storefronts don't sell PlayStation games, but it's not like Walmart has its own store on the PlayStation Store where I'm going to buy a digital game from Walmart directly or anything like that. You buy a game from PlayStation, that's it, end of cycle, right? That's the loop in terms of buying games on their consoles. And in fairness, that's the way it works on Xbox and also Nintendo currently, right? I'm not here to pick on Sony by any means. So what we're left with is a scenario right now where, like, when I'm on my PC, I can buy a game from Steam, I can buy a game from Xbox, I can buy a game from Epic Games, I can buy a game from EA directly, Ubisoft directly, Battle.net, Good Old Games, we've talked about GOG, right? I can buy game like like Steam keys, like I can buy digital codes from a variety of places that activate on stores like Epic Games and Steam and GOG and stuff like that. Like I just got full disclosure, I'm a Amazon Prime member, and as an Amazon Prime member, I get access to something called Prime Gaming. And Prime Gaming gives me free games that I can play on a variety of PC storefronts. So I just got Tomb Raider 1+3 Remastered for free as an Amazon Prime member, and they gave me a digital code that I put into the GOG, the Good Old Games storefront, like, account management page. And then I just redeemed the game for free. And now it's on my library and I can just play that game. I also got like Saints Row 2 and Saints Row 4 re-elected, and I got Mafia 3 and all of this stuff and whatever, right? But the reason like they do that is because I have the freedom to, choose what platform I want to play games on and what platform I want to buy games on and so on and so forth. So Microsoft is teasing a world in which the next Xbox may not be tied to a single store. They've also said that the deal that they did with AMD will allow for their next generation consoles to be fully backwards compatible. The news was shared in a brief video published on Tuesday. I'm getting this news story from Video Games Chronicles, courtesy of Andy Robinson, in which Xbox President Sarah Bond pledged to deliver deeper visual quality, immersive gameplay, and AI-powered experiences. AMD chips currently power the Xbox Series consoles, as well as the upcoming Xbox-branded portable PC, the Xbox ROG Ally. The latter runs a new Xbox menu system on top of Windows, which allows users to access game stores such as Steam. So, if, let's say, let me talk to like just the PlayStation users in the room for a moment, right? If you went and bought a Xbox ROG Ally, it is basically a handheld PC. It is running Windows, but what it is doing, it is running a special version of the Xbox menu system on top of Windows, and that allows you to both play and buy games off Steam, as well as play the PC games that are available as part of Xbox Game Pass. But perhaps we're looking at a scenario where stuff is going to be even more interconnected, in terms of what's an Xbox, what's a PC. Let me continue on here. It's possible that Xbox's other future devices will adopt a similar approach, with Bond stating that Microsoft's gaming arm is working closely with the Windows team to ensure that Windows is the #1 platform for gaming. Saying, "We've established a strategic multi-year agreement with AMD to co-engineer silicon across the portfolio of devices, including our next generation Xbox consoles. Together we're delivering deep visual quality, immersive gameplay, and AI-powered experiences grounded in a platform designed for players, not tied to a single store or device, and fully compatible with your existing Xbox library." Bond said, "At Xbox, our vision is for you to play the games you want with the people you want anywhere you want. That's why we're investing in our next generation hardware lineup across console, handheld, PC, cloud, and accessories. I am thrilled to share we've established a multi-year partnership with AMD, co-engineering silicon across portfolio of devices, including our next generation Xbox consoles in your living room and in your hands." She continued, "Together with AMD, we're advancing the state-of-the-art in gaming silicon to deliver the next generation of graphics innovation, to unlock a deeper level of visual quality and immersive gameplay, and player experiences enhanced with the power of AI, all while maintaining compatibility with your existing Xbox library of games. This is all about building you a gaming platform that's always with you, so you can play the games you want across the devices anywhere you want, delivering you an Xbox experience not locked to a single store or tied to one device. That's why we're working closely with the Windows team to ensure that Windows is the #1 platform for gaming. The next generation of Xbox is coming to life, and this is just the beginning. We can't wait to show you what's next." Now, Microsoft has been targeting a 2028 launch for its next Xbox console, and according to a meeting transcript release, according to a meeting transcript released as part of Microsoft's 2023 legal battle with the U.S. Federal Trade Commission. Increasingly, Microsoft has adopted a multi-platform approach for its first-party games, with many titles now releasing for PlayStation 5 close to or alongside their Xbox versions. So, like, yeah, they like Xbox wants to meet you where you are. If you have a PlayStation and you're only going to buy a PlayStation, you're only going to play a PlayStation, well then fuck it. Let's put Gears of War on a PlayStation. Let's put The Outer Worlds, Forza Horizon, whatever, on a PlayStation. Fine. But they are trying to offer you a rewarding experience. And this is not me like, talking as an Xbox fan or anything like that. They want to offer you a very dynamic and painless ecosystem where if you are playing on PC, great. If you go and you buy a game on Xbox, like if I go buy, so I'll show you something right now. If I load this up here, if I go to their store right now, if I go to their store and I type in Outer Worlds 2, when I buy the Outer Worlds 2 digitally from Xbox, I get the Xbox and the PC version. That's it. I get both and I can play it right then and there. Now, obviously, if I have Game Pass Ultimate, I would get access to both versions of that game. So whether I was playing the Outer Worlds on something like a ROG Ally X or whatever they're called, or I was at home playing it on my playing it on my Xbox, right? Like that follows me, right? That's it. It's just one version. So that's like why you're not seeing a lot of disc-based versions of Xbox games right now, because if they let you buy a disc version of the Outer Worlds 2, you wouldn't get the experience of being able to play it wherever you were, regardless of what device you were playing it on. Because if you get a disc, you can't put that disc in your PC. You can't put it on your PC, right? So it's not going to work. So, I am really hoping that what this means is that as a PC player, I really hope that more old Xbox games eventually make their way to PC. I would love to play, old Xbox games on PC, old 360 games on PC, original Xbox games on PC, whatnot. I'd be very, very game for that. But if you're wondering, like, how does Microsoft, prevent a scenario where, PlayStation is just outselling their consoles 2-1, 3-1, it's because they're not going to require you to necessarily have a Xbox to play their games, right? Like you can go buy the Outer Worlds 2 on PlayStation right now, if you would like. Now, I think even most hardcore PlayStation fans, I think would, agree with me that playing a Microsoft game like Indiana Jones or Forza Horizon 5 or Gears or whatever, I think anyone would agree with me that playing one of those games on a PlayStation is not the best experience that you can possibly have. Why? Because you're going to pay for that game. You're going to probably pay full price for that game if you want to get it anytime soon. And you miss out on the convenience of, being able to fire it up on your PC, on your console, potentially having a, Xbox ROG Ally. You're going to miss out on Game Pass, right? Where you don't have to buy these games at all. Obviously, if PlayStation is all you have, then shit, like that's going to be, and you buy Forza Horizon, like that's a great game. Indiana Jones is a great game, right? You're going to have a great time because Microsoft is also delivering when it comes to games, in my opinion. It's just that like they want their ecosystem to be so enticing that regardless of what games you own, you can get Game Pass and get and a ROG Ally, right? Like if you only had like one console, even if you were like a Nintendo fan, like if you just bought a Switch 2 and you were like, I don't know if I want, I want to play Forza Horizon, but I don't have, it's not coming to Switch. You get yourself like a ROG Xbox ROG Ally, which is already a handheld, very similar to your Switch that you already own. And you're going to get access to so many games and so many, PC games and whatnot that I think you'd probably have a pretty good time. And that's assuming that not all Xbox games eventually make their way to Switch too. So I can see what they're saying in terms of like, hey, we want our ecosystem to be like that. And I haven't even covered the part where like, I will be able to play, in theory, I'd be able to play any of my, if I had a Steam game, right? If, for example, if I load up my Steam account right here, Resident Evil 5. I own Resident Evil 5 on my PC, right? That game supports controllers. If they're saying that, I can take my existing library of Steam games and put that on an Xbox console that also supports Game Pass, like this could potentially be a scenario where, this could potentially move me even off of a gaming PC and back onto consoles potentially. I like my gaming PC. I like being at the desk. I like the battle station I've set up, but I could take so many of those Steam games and just put them onto a new Xbox that I could use for Game Pass, or I could use just for this and whatnot. Like that is kind of a game changer, right? You think about how closed the Nintendo system is, the ecosystem is. You think about how closed the PlayStation system is, right? PlayStation is only putting some of their games on PC. But we're potentially looking at a scenario where you could be playing the next God of War on an Xbox because it's a PC, right? Like this is where Microsoft is at. This is, they've laid the groundwork for so long. They've eaten shit for so long. This is where they're at. I don't know if they'll be successful. I don't know if this will work. Like they could easily fuck it up. It's like, oh, the games don't run well, or oh, the Windows version is shit, or whatever the case may be. But this is where things seem to be heading for Xbox. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we got some Nintendo news and some PlayStation news. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the podcast. We have some Nintendo news. Nintendo recently did a Donkey Kong Bananza gameplay reveal. They did a 17-minute Nintendo Direct presentation, and it was focused solely on Donkey Kong Bananza. It's going to be out in about a month, and we have some news to go off of. Most notably, that the Donkey Kong that you see in the game will be accompanied by a child version of longtime series character Pauline, who dreams of becoming a singer. So potentially we're looking at a scenario where this Donkey Kong, I don't want to do weird Nintendo timeline stuff, but if you played Super Mario Odyssey, you know that Pauline is the mayor of New Donk City, and Pauline is already a singer, and she sings that song, which is great. If you've never heard Jump Up Superstar, it's an incredible song. So we're potentially looking at a scenario where, like, if this is in the same timeline as Super Mario Odyssey, this is a prequel with Donkey Kong hanging out with young Pauline, who is dreaming of becoming a singer. Pauline is the alter ego of Odd Rock, the strange purple rock that was accompanying Donkey Kong in the early gameplay footage shown in recent months. It is not yet clear when Odd Rock becomes Pauline in the game, but the gameplay footage shown during the Direct suggests that Pauline will be present for most of the game. The presence of Pauline is somewhat less of a surprise than expected, because back in April, the official South Korean Nintendo Switch website accidentally uploaded the wrong artwork showing Pauline accompanying Donkey Kong instead of Odd Rock. The Direct also showed Donkey Kong's ability to perform Bananza transformations, turning him into a variety of creatures such as a zebra or an ostrich for a limited time. Each creature has different powers. The game will also feature challenge course ruins, which give the player a variety of skill-based missions to complete. Some of these appear to be inspired by previous Donkey Kong games, such as the original Donkey Kong or the Minecart sessions, in the Donkey Kong Country series. Donkey Kong can also collect skill points, which allow him to gain new abilities. New outfits can also be unlocked for Donkey Kong and Pauline, and most outfits have different buffs or other benefits. The game also features a 2-player mode where the second player can use the mouse controls for the Nintendo Switch 2 to shout at enemies and objects as Pauline, destroying them. It will also support game share, allowing 2 systems to play the game together with a single copy. A sculpting mode called DK Artist is also included, allowing players to make their own rock sculptures and paint them. A special Donkey Kong and Pauline amiibo will also be released for the game, and scanning it will unlock a diva dress for Pauline. Nintendo has since tweeted that it will unlock the dress early, suggesting that the amiibo isn't required to unlock it in the game. Donkey Kong Bananza will be released on Nintendo Switch 2 on July 17th, and you can find new key features via Nintendo below. There is a whole thing about what you can do in the game. New Smash and Bash. As Donkey Kong, you'll be able to utilize powerful abilities to smash your way through obstacles and enemies and even unearth discoveries. Use Dive Punch to drill deep into the earth, roll yourself over obstacles, and perform a hand slap to help locate hidden items. You can also tear off chunks of the ground to either throw at enemies or ride on top of by turf surfing and more. These abilities can be combined for maximum mayhem. And then I'll just read this last one. Bananza transformations. I would love to I want to do that. While this unlikely duo explores the underground world, Pauline can enhance Donkey Kong's destructive ability and even make him temporarily transform through the power of her singing. Collecting gold builds up their Bananergy, Bananergy, Banergy, Bananergy. Good God. Which allows Pauline singing to activate the transformations, each with its own special abilities, like Kong Bananza that makes DK super strong, Zebra Bananza, which makes him faster and lets him dash for short distances, and Ostrich Bananza that allows Donkey Kong to fly and drop egg bombs on enemies. I need to take a breath after that one. Ostrich Bananza. It sounds so dumb, but it's the type of dumb that I would get into. As someone who was yelling cock check every 15 minutes on last week's episode, the idea of Ostrich Bananza sounds like a great time. Let's move on. Hey, let's talk about Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade is reportedly coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. Jordan Midler of Video Games Chronicles writing up here. That's according to a new report which claims that Stellar Blade developer Shift Up is currently developing a Nintendo Switch port of the game following its massive Steam success. Now you might be wondering, how successful was this game on Steam? Stellar Blade saw over 6 times as many concurrent players on Steam as The Last of Us Part 2. It was a huge hit. For context, Helldivers 2 saw about 458,709 players at its peak concurrent player count when it was launched on PC. And that's a multiplayer game, so that makes sense, right? Multiplayer game, it came out on both consoles at the same time, makes sense. However, Stellar Blade had 192,078 concurrent players peak on PC when it came out. Ghost of Tsushima saw only 77,154. God of War saw 73,529. Marvel Spider-Man Remastered saw 66,436. This, Stellar Blade 2, blowing away all numbers that aren't Helldivers 2 numbers. Last of Us essentially bombed on Steam because both games barely passed 30,000 concurrent players. So I know that, PlayStation is being all picky about what games come to PC and what games don't and stuff like that, but it turns out that when they hit, they blow past a lot of expectations set by even other successful previous games that came to PC, such as Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. And maybe we'll see more of it because PlayStation is removing its PC region locks for games like Helldivers 2, The Last of Us Part 2, and more. Previously, most PlayStation PC ports couldn't be purchased in regions that didn't support PlayStation Network. While there were workarounds for this issue, including the relatively simple steps of making Steam and PSN accounts for different regions, these region locks frustrated affected players. While the argument for a mandatory PSN can be made for multiplayer titles such as Concord, the inclusion in strictly single-player titles had previously attracted the ire of players. Now it seems that most of the PlayStation's biggest PC ports, including God of War Ragnarok, The Last of Us Part 2, Remastered, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Helldivers 2, have removed the regional restrictions for their respective Steam listings. In January, Sony announced that it would scrap the mandatory PSN requirements for most of its PC games, instead offering players in-game items as an incentive to sign up for PlayStation services. The backlash to the PSN inclusion in Helldivers 2 was such that Sony itself U-turned and removed the requirement, saying at the time it was learning what's best for PC players. When the requirements was added for the PC version of God of War Ragnarok, one player even created a mod that removed it, but it was taken down at the creator's request in a case of action from Sony. Probably Sony saying, we're going to sue you into oblivion if you do this. I thought this was horrifying and interesting all at the same time. Sony says it will continue to adjust PlayStation Plus pricing as more players choose higher tiers. This is according to CEO Hideki Nishino, saying that subscribers are increasingly choosing higher tiers despite price increases. Sony noted that in financial years 2022, 2023, and 2024, the percentage of PlayStation Plus subscribers on higher tiers continued to grow. Subscribers are increasingly choosing our premium and extra tiers, which now represent approximately 38% of total subscribers. This was supported with a chart showing that 17% of PlayStation Plus players were on the premium tier and 13% of players were on the extra tier. This increased to 2022 and increased to 22% and 16% in 2024. So basically in 2022, it was 17 for premium, 17% for premium, 13% for extra in 2022. And in 2024, it became 22% and 16%. It's funny. I was talking to somebody at work about this and they were like, yeah, I don't know why, but I bought the highest tier of PlayStation Plus. And because they had like the stars, like the PlayStation stars, like funny money. So they like basically put that in their account and then bought the highest tier of PlayStation Plus. I'm hoping they bought it during days of play so they could save some money. But they wanted to buy, I was talking to this person at work. They wanted to buy Silent Hill 2. That was the thing they wanted to buy, was Silent Hill 2. And they were like, where's all my PlayStation money? And then they were like, oh, right, I bought PlayStation Plus and I bought the highest tier. And I just turned to them and I was like, that was a really, really, really silly thing to do. And I say that because this person has a Switch 2 and they have a gaming PC. If you only had a PlayStation, like I could see getting all in on PlayStation Plus highest tier, but like if you're playing other games in other places, you really should only have the basic tier of PlayStation Plus. It doesn't make any sense. Speaking of making sense, Sony has confirmed that they are making sense when it comes to the PlayStation 5 because they have confirmed that the PS5 has more monthly players than PlayStation 4 for the first time. Last year, Sony said the PS5 and PS4 users were split 50-50. How about that? Think about how long the PlayStation 5 has been out for. And only now it has more active monthly users than a PS4. To me, this says that I don't expect Sony to put out a console anytime soon, but obviously they're going to have to respond in some way if a Xbox console comes out in 2028. Even that seems a little generous. But damn, only now have we seen more people playing PS5s than PS4s out of anyone playing PlayStation games. That is pretty freaking crazy if you ask me. Got some more numbers news real quick. Summer Game Fest has reported its highest ever viewership. That is up 89% year on year. This is crazy. Summer Game Fest saw more than 50 million live stream viewers across the 2-hour show, which marks the highest viewership on record for the event. According to Variety, the show peaked at more than 3 million concurrent viewers across Twitch and YouTube. Viewership on YouTube increased over 40% compared to 2024, while on Twitch it rose 38%. Like, I don't mean to like shit on other traditional like showcases such as like the Oscars or the Grammys or the whatevers, but like, if you put this stuff on streaming, if you put the Oscars on YouTube, I don't know if you would get 50 million people watching, but it would be a hell of a lot more than whatever it is right now, right? How easy is it to just be like, oh, I have YouTube, I can just turn this on and watch it, or I can watch it after the fact really easily, or I can watch, like, for fuck's sakes, like, this is meet people where they're at, and you will constantly see growth when it comes to viewership. But also 50 million viewers is pretty mind-boggling. Final news story. Borderlands 4 will not cost $80 US after all. Gearbox has confirmed the $70 price point following CEO Randy Pitchford's comments about real fans finding a way. However, I have good news for you. If you would like to spend a lot of money on Borderlands 4, you totally can. Borderlands 4 will cost $70 US for the standard edition. You can also get the $130 Super Deluxe edition of the game, which includes bonus items and DLC. You can also get a $150 collector's edition. However, it does not include the game itself in the collector's edition. It was also announced plans for post-launch content for the game, including free and paid DLC. You will get 2 new playable characters, new regions, and new story missions. All have been promised, with full details to be revealed at a later date. So I'm just going to go to Steam right now, if you don't mind me. Borderlands 4. Okay. So Borderlands 4 is $90 Canadian, $130 Canadian for the Super Deluxe Edition, and $172.99 for the Super Deluxe Edition. But sorry. Hold on. Let me clarify something here. The collector's edition of the game is for the physical version of a bunch of collector's items and bullshit and whatnot. Let me actually break down for you. If you're to buy the game digitally, what do you get? So the standard edition is $90. The deluxe edition is $130. This is in Canadian prices. So $90 for the base game, $130 for the deluxe edition. When you do that, you get the Bounties Pack bundle, which includes 4 unique areas, 4 vault cards, new gear and weapons, new Vault Hunter cosmetics, and new vehicle cosmetics. If you get the Super Deluxe Edition, you also get the Vault Hunter pack and the Ornate Order pack. That Super Deluxe Edition is $173 Canadian. But obviously, if you want the physical collector's edition, you have to get the $150 version and then buy the game yourself. It's like, here's a statue of the Echo 4 and a cloth map and lithograph art prints and a necklace, among other things. Anyways, that's it. It's not going to be $80 US, but you can spend a hell of a lot of money on Borderlands 4 if you want to. We got to get this show on the road and start talking about some damn video games. I have been playing a handful of games so far, and I would like to talk to you about them. They added Hank Hill to Fortnite as part of the Father's Day holiday. Happy belated Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I wouldn't know if I was a father. Anyways, they added Hank Hill. I have Hank Hill, I bought Hank Hill. They do a couple of things when they do like a character and stuff like that I'm going to cover for you right now. Sorry if you saw me sneeze. I'm allergic to talking about spending money in video games, but here I am. So you can, when Hank Hill comes out, you can do a couple of things. You can buy just Hank Hill. There's usually some other things attributed to Hank Hill that you can buy. And I'm just using Hank Hill as shorthand for any character, right? So usually when a character comes out, you can buy the character. You can buy their back bling, which is like the accessory attachment that goes on a character's back that you can see during battle. You can also get stuff like the glider. So when you dive from the bus, when you jump out of the bus and you glide, you can often get like a unique parachute sort of thing for the character. When you use your melee weapons, you will usually have the ability to get a unique melee weapon for that character. Whatever it is. Hank, I think for Hank, it's like tongs holding a stake. So I'm like holding a stake while I'm basically beating somebody with tongs and a stake. And then there's also usually an emote. So for example, when I got John Cena, I bought the version of John Cena that came with everything. So like the back bling for John Cena is the WWE belt. It also came with John Cena, a couple different versions of John Cena, one with the shirt on, one with the shirt off, if you are into that sort of thing. Turns out the shirtless version of John Cena has no nipples. I don't know if you know that. But it also came with the "You Can't See Me" emote. So anytime when I'm playing any game in Fortnite, I can hit this button and he'll do like the "You Can't See Me" thing, and it'll make the music like bam, bam, bam. Anyways, and then that's fun. So I can just walk up to somebody and be like, "You can't see me," which is more effective when you are waiting for the game to start, because in Fortnite they gather all of the players into one area and you can run around and shoot each other with no risk of dying or dance or whatever. Anyways, that I have that version of John Cena. I can do the "You Can't See Me" thing. When I bought the Rick Astley "Never Gonna Give You Up" dance, that was an emote that when I do it to another player, they can actually join me in doing the Rick Astley "Never Gonna Give You Up" dance together. We listen to the music together. They play a clip from the song and we can dance together and all that stuff. The Hank Hill emote is the intro to King of the Hill. So whatever character you play as, a like fence pops up behind the emote is basically the music starts playing from the King of the Hill intro. A fence pops up behind you. A like recycling box is by the character's feet. And basically you just stand around drinking while the King of the Hill music plays, and up to 3 other players can join you at a time. And they can basically all participate standing around, listening to the King of the Hill intro music and pretending to drink beer as any character. So like, I saw a character and he was the guy from Invincible, and I did the emote to him, and then he joined me and just standing around drinking beer. So it's just like John Cena and the guy from Invincible all standing around drinking beer, listening to the King of the Hill theme song. Now you can use those emotes regardless of what character you have, which is what makes Fortnite so beautiful. So if you want to be Hank Hill and go up to a character and be like, "You can't see me, John Cena," bam, 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 you can totally do that. Anyways, I have Hank Hill. I bought all of the Hank Hill stuff that they could give me. They also added Cleveland from Family Guy and The Cleveland Show, and Bob from Bob's Burgers as part of the Father's Day update for that game going on right now. The current season of Fortnite is kind of focusing on Superman, excuse me. So Superman is on the Battle Pass. He is the last thing in the Battle Pass that you can unlock. The first thing you unlock in the Battle Pass is Robin. So I don't know if they're going to have more DC and Batman and Superman stuff later, but I have Robin. I have the Battle Pass. I'll hopefully rank through all that Battle Pass and grind that out and get my money's worth in that Battle Pass. Though I think it doesn't end until like August. So I think I have some time to complete the Battle Pass if I want. But anyways, Fortnite still going strong, still playing Fortnite, still spending a little bit of money, having a good time. If you remember from last week's show, I was playing Darksiders. I dropped Darksiders 1 because I'm too stupid for the game. There is a puzzle in Darksiders 1 that I found really, really frustrating. And when I went to look it up in a guide, even the guide said that this puzzle was very obnoxious. So I tried the puzzle and I ended up dropping the game. In Darksiders 1, you get a portal gun. And the way the portal gun works is that you use it for solving puzzles. So there are preset areas of, like, let's say you enter a room and the door closes on you and it's a puzzle room, whatever. and you have the portal gun. What you can basically do is there are these circles in the environment that you can shoot, and that will activate the portal. And you can have 2 portals at any time going, one red and one blue. If you go through the blue, you come out the red. If you come out the red, if you enter the red, you go through the blue. And you can use that for also pushing objects through the portals to place them in different parts of the environment. So I might see rafter or something, or some sort of, wall that I have to get to, but it's too high for me to jump it. So I shoot the portal, in one spot, hop through it, go to the other side, and then I'm just, jumping through it. But to complete the portal puzzle. However, this puzzle involved me like putting weights on different like pulley systems. So, use the portal to drop this weight onto this, onto this pulley, and then jump off the pulley and go to this pulley and weigh it down. And then you're basically climbing through this like pulley system with weights in order to complete the puzzle. But it was so obnoxious that I basically just said, you know what? I'm so close to the game. I'm probably at least 2/3, 75% of done the game. I'm just going to drop the game because I think this puzzle is so annoying and move on. So I've briefly touched Darksiders 2. My understanding is that there are more puzzles in Darksiders 2. It's also a longer game. So we'll see how it goes. But right now, Darksiders 2 is not my main focus because I have spent some time thinking about The Outer Worlds 2. It's not my most anticipated game for this year, but it is the biggest Xbox release for this year. And I have never finished The Outer Worlds 1. If you're familiar with The Outer Worlds 1, it is the open world, first-person action RPG, very, very similar to something like Fallout, but on a much smaller scale and scope. In fact, The Outer Worlds 1, according to like howlongtobeat.com, you can beat like The Outer Worlds 1 in like 15 hours. Now, that's assuming you are quick with it and stuff like that, but, compare that to a Fallout game, which is like easily double in length, if not longer. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to give The Outer Worlds 1 another chance. I'm going to play it. Maybe by the time I'm done, the updates for Avowed will be out and I can just jump from one Obsidian open world RPG to another. And this time around, I am finding myself enjoying The Outer Worlds a lot more. I think partially because I'm aware that the story really starts to slow down once you get off the first planet in the game. But the other thing for me is that I don't take the story so seriously. Like at first I was like, oh, this is like, somewhat, this is a game that I could really sink my teeth into in terms of lore and story and the universe and what's going on, the players, the factions, what's going on in the world. When in reality, this is a very silly game. Like this is a fairly lighthearted game that you should not take particularly seriously. So I think I maybe injected too much seriousness into how I was supposed to take The Outer Worlds the first time around. This time around, I'm playing it and I'm like, oh, this is basically like Futurama. This is basically Rick and Morty. This is basically like a silly, sci-fi romp, with first person shooting and stuff like that. So I'm maybe 1/3 to 50% of the way done the game. I'm not too sure. But I'm hoping maybe by this time next week I'll be done the game and I can share more about it. But yeah, I'm enjoying The Outer Worlds 1. If you've never played like a Fallout game or one of those types of games, I actually think The Outer Worlds 1 is a pretty good introduction because it's not the worlds are not big because you're going to multiple different planets. It's not one sprawling open world. Like you can run from one end of a planet to the other in, I don't know, like 5 minutes, 7 minutes max. Like they're not very big, maybe even less than that. They're not very big, but there are multiple planets that you explore and travel to as part of the story. There's side quests. But basically the main point of the game is you are trying to balance your relationship with the different factions of the world. So you are basically rescued by this mad scientist who is very anti-corporation, very much trying to save, the colonists who may be trapped and would be, basically turned into corporate slaves by the different corporations that are vying for power over the galaxy that they are colonizing. And you can do things like, choose which, corporation you want to work with. You can choose which, if you want to turn in the mad scientist, to the corporations or not. There's a story mission very early on where these people have deserted a colony. The very opening of the game is you're basically choosing, there's a deserter colony that have basically left the corporation's colony on this planet, and you can decide who you want to align with stuff like that. If you are really in good graces with the corporations and you go to buy something at the shops, you'll get a discount and stuff like that. They'll react to you differently and things like that. So it's one of those types of, open world RPGs with shooting and leveling and gear and companions and dialogue trees and talking to people and doing all that stuff. But again, on a much, 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 much smaller scale than something like a Fallout. So if you're trying to dip your toes into a Fallout-like game or something like that, The Outer Worlds is definitely worth checking out. And I'm looking forward to that second game, though I wouldn't call myself necessarily too excited. We'll see by the time I'm done The Outer Worlds 1. What I wanted to say before we wrap the show up is I wanted to give you my top 5 most anticipated games coming out of Summer Game Fest, if you would do me the honors. This is in no particular order, so let's kick things off. Persona 4 Revival. I love Persona 4. Seeing Persona 4 Revival announced at the Xbox Showcase, I'm very, very excited. I'm sure it's a ways off, and whatever they do to the game, I'm willing to give it a shot. But so far, my love of the original game is more than enough to get me excited about a potential remake of the game. Clockwork Revolution, they showed a lot of Clockwork Revolution at the Xbox Showcase. I think the game looks like a lot of fun. Their twist on the changing of time and all of that stuff I think looks really neat. And while In Exile have made a lot of inconsistent games, this seems like the most interesting game they've made in a while. So I would say as of right now, Clockwork Revolution is definitely up there. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, you know me, I love the Tony Hawk games. The demo that they put out, I've been playing, has been great. Really great looking game, really tight controls, really fun to play, just like the way I remember it. So I would say Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, definitely one of my most anticipated games coming out of Summer Game Fest. Luminous Arise, I loved, Tetris Effect, and I've never played a Luminous game. I've heard great things about Luminous over the years. Really excited to check out Luminous Arise. The other thing that I thought was really fascinating about Luminous Arise is they actually said that unlike Tetris Effect, this is a game where they actually made original music for the game. Like, this is a scenario where they did not license any of the music in this game. It is all original music this time around. So in Tetris Effect, they had licensed pre-made music and then incorporated that into the puzzles and stuff like that. This time around, they can actually work more directly with the composers of the music to make sure that, it's the correct, tempo or the correct mood or the vibe, or they can create a puzzle around the music that better aligns with what they're trying to do with the game. So there's a potential that if you loved Tetris Effect, you're going to really love Luminous Arise when it comes out, and I am very excited to check that out. And then the final thing for me is There Are No Ghosts at the Grand. That is the first-person adventure game where you are managing a spooky, haunted hotel. I just love something that's a little off-kilter, a little bit weird, a little bit unique, and I know that game's probably a ways off as well, but I love the idea of managing a spooky hotel in a first-person kind of adventure game sense. So those would be my top 5 games. Persona 4 Revival, Clockwork Revolution, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4, Luminous Arise, and There Are No Ghosts at the Grand. I got to wrap this podcast up. There's a lot of things I got to check out. I really want to finish Outer Worlds 1 before the podcast next week. Maybe I'll check out FBC Firebreak. People were telling me to check out The Altars. There is so much to see, so much to do, so much to play. So I want to wish you a happy gaming. If you have some top 5 games from Summer Game Fest, you can let me know. You can head over to linktree.com/GnittWitt, GnittWitt. You can let me know on Instagram, Threads, or wherever you are. You let me know, and we'll talk about your most anticipated games coming out of Summer Game Fest. Honorable mentions, if I may, to stuff like the Final Fantasy Tactics, Ivalice Chronicles Remaster. I mean, that is definitely a game that I am very, very much looking forward to. Resident Evil 9, of course, looking forward to Resident Evil 9. I'm curious about stuff like, 007 First Light. That's a big one for me as well, but we haven't seen a lot of that game as well. So there's so much to talk about, so much to be excited for. You enjoy your gaming. I'm going to enjoy my gaming, and we'll see you all next week for the Glitch Report podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Take it easy.